Hello, can everyone hear me? Excellent. Right. Um, you'll need to keep the headsets on because speakers are not projecting anything. So hopefully you can hear that if you've not got it on. Otherwise, we're going to have a problem. But yeah, I'm Josh. I'm here from French Bedroom to talk about how your website can replicate the intimate in-store experience. And I'm going to start with a little bit of an introduction first. Just about who I am. I've been with a number of these brands with a decade of experience in e-com and kind of in retail as well, working with high consideration purchases, both online and in physical stores, starting at Evans Cycles, on the shop floor as a Saturday boy, selling bikes to people. Gives you an understanding of that considered purchase journey because a bike is very different to a number of different people. You've got me, a big old cycling nerd that wants to know the intricate details, but you've also got two other people, a bike is a bike. And that's what we'll be exploring a little bit later about how you make sure you cater to those customers. And mainly the mantra for selling online is that it continues through, it's just thinking like a shop. And that kind of idea generation works at also stakeholder management for ensuring people can understand, especially for a website, really kind of put it into how it would feel as an actual store, rather than almost like a non-physical entity. And as for French Bedroom, where I'm the Martech Lead, we've been going for 17 years. We specialize in French bedroom furniture. Our main core concept is made by women, for women. It's very much a considered purchase, a product that's built to last and span generations. And we're online only, so zero high street presence, and we're basically born during the internet, so we've had to live through this and selling in a more difficult place, a colder environment than you'd expect in store. And what makes that experience so great? Well, when you first go into any luxury retailer, or any retailer at all, it's knowing who they are. Are you new to that store? Are you a returning visitor? Are you a repeat purchase? And what's your intent? And in store you can get that from things like body language, but we don't have that. And what we do have online is so much more, and such easy ways of letting people know that you're welcoming them. From salutations for returning customers, can be really simple, really effective. Is your search and merch smart as well? Do you know what people have been looking at and giving them better requirements or better recommendations? And even to the point of new and existing, that what do you want to be showing them? And it can be how accessible that first party data is. So not only do you know what new and existing customers are, but is there more? Are they interested in, for example, if we're looking at beds, are they interested in the bed itself or bed linen? How do we show them the right content? How do we target those different segments? And that's not just online, because you've got so many other channels as well. You've got email, you've got ads from Meta, from Google, making sure you can target those people from different segments. And of course SEO as well, which is part of my remit at French Bedroom, is ensuring that you know the intent from a search. So make sure that landing page is optimized for those people. And then of course it comes to the experience and educating and advising. So luxury products especially all have a story. It's a journey, and telling it as part of the experience. You go into Harrods, say, and go to Coco Chanel, you're going to hear the story of Coco Chanel and why you're buying that product. It's such a great story. It's in the V&A at the moment. But every brand has got a story, not necessarily to that level, but it's all part of telling that experience of why that product exists and advising why that product is the right thing. And that's where I'm going to introduce the theory, genes theory. It's not kind of, you know, a big wild theory with loads of complicated bits and pieces. It's making it a bit more simple. It's taking SEO, but for the people, rather than for Google. Taking that useful content that you've been writing for so long and surfacing it at the right time. And this is where I come to thinking like a shop. You walk into Marks and Spencer's and think about the jeans section there. It's not just product. That's it. That's what you'd expect when you go into the PLP. Product, that's it. But this is a PLP. But what you've got is useful content in the right places, ensuring that you know what fit you need, what the material is. And that needs to be surfaced a lot earlier, especially if you've got those signals, if they're new or existing, or you've not got that information yet on whether or not they like bootcut, straight, or even skinny jeans. And it doesn't have to start with this kind of very complex display that you've got here. We started with some whiteboard drawings, post-it notes, just to map out how this would look. And if you go to the French Bedroom site now and have a look at a category page, you'll see these bits and pieces where it's more experiential, where we grab that data and then push that into our search and merge to ensure that we're sending the right content at the right time. And so this is a fairly basic kind of example of how jeans theory would look on a PLP, where at the moment, at the bottom of the page, you'll see some buying guides. And that would all be related to the PLP. It's kind of basic SEO at that point, ensuring that the content is in the right place. But that's just really the beginning. And you can kind of go a bit big brain on this. You're looking at a dinner plate, which is telling you more related content. It's bringing that great blog content that you've written and surfacing it on the product page to ensure that you're educating the customer on why that product is the right product for them and why you're showing it to them at all. And the same again, it can be used for offers. So Anthropology do this great. You're coming in as a new user and you're landing on one of the pages, rather than putting a pop-up in to try and gather sign-ups, I can just drop it in to the PLP, putting those marketing messages like you would see in store. Again, think about it. You go back to the jeans display at Marks and Spencer's, and it won't just be the messaging about, or just product. There's more to it. There's offers. There's various other bits and pieces that need to be in and around that moment. And that comes into product advisors as well, and educating, making that product discovery more accessible. I'm going to bring two different examples here. Sorry to anyone from Curry's PC World for the next set of slides. Microsoft, you're all right on this one. And in-store experience, you'd expect to be very similar. You're looking for a very complicated, complex item in terms of a laptop. But on the website, it's completely different. On the website, if I go, I want to get the Surface laptop, Curry's will give me a PLP, and then I've got to work. At that point, it's up to me. What am I going to do? Microsoft, however, make it just a lot more easy. What am I looking from my laptop? Now, there may be some technical users in here that will know what RAM they want, know what processors they want, but do I know the difference between a Pentium and a, I don't know. That's how little I know about it, that I can only name one different CPU, and I don't know if it's good or not. So asking questions for heavy productivity, complex creative workflows, I understand what that means. If I was to do that on Curry's, I've got to know what a processor is. As I say, for Intel Core i5, i7, doesn't mean anything to me as a customer, but knowing it can deal with the questions I really have of, is it quick enough to do what I want to do? Again, number of cores, not helpful information to me. And Curry's kind of know this, because there's an advisor in the bottom right corner. That's there, because clearly people can't shop this well enough. And again, continue through with product advisors to go into things like storage. Again, I don't know how big a terabyte is. I don't know how much storage I need for what I'm doing, but I do know I need lots of it. And in that case, you can then recommend the right capacity. Or if I didn't mention that, we can keep in things that have a smaller capacity. I do everything on the cloud. That's what I do understand. And then Microsoft, they'll give me the response that I want. They'll tell me why I've ended up at that recommended product. Whereas at Curry's, I've gone to go and buy a Mac instead, because the experience is easier. And then finally, it's showcasing that product. When I go into store, I can be tactile with it. It's one of the things we have at French Bedroom that's a problem. We have luxury furniture but no high street presence. How do we showcase the product, get up close and personal to the product, and see the details? One of my favorites is what Mulberry do. And they can show off the content that visitors want to see at this point in the journey and never compromise on the quality of those visual assets. There's so much detail I can get there. I mean, if I went into store and picked up one of the Mulberry handbags and looked at it that close, I've got a security guard coming for me, not a sales assistant. And this is the kind of stuff that, especially for luxury, you need to be showing this level of detail. And it doesn't need to cost the earth. I know Mulberry, a lot bigger brand than us at French Bedroom. And we're doing the same, in a slightly different way. Because that's the great thing about Martech. There's not just one solutions provider out there. There's many different ways to get into that level of detail in your own home that you couldn't get in a store. And I mean, in comparison to what the solution that I know Mulberry have got in place, ours cost about 20 to 25 dev hours to get in place without needing to use a dynamic asset manager. And our page speed insights are great for it. They show that we're hitting the high 80s and high 90s in some cases from there. And just changing the tech we were hosting videos for as well also saw a huge increase in terms of what in our core web vitals. But the experience is what we're trying to show, and that's what luxury is about. And whilst I've heard some talks where they say, oh, luxury, people are prepared to wait. We're not. We're not prepared to wait for a big asset to load. Just got to have the right solution in place. And sometimes you will get pushback from your systems integrator or your tech partner or your developers. But the technology is definitely out there, and it doesn't have to cost the earth, again, to have stuff like this appearing. And yeah, those are the three big things that I was looking at. Know who they are, educating and advising and showcasing the product for how you bring that experience of in-store online. And we can do it better sometimes than in-store. I'd like to say thank you for your time. And if you do have any questions, just stick your hand up and my glamorous assistant will be over to hand a mic. No? Yeah? Oh, headset.
Hello. So, quick one. So, we're in an industry where we can't use traditional advertisement, so we rely heavily on SEO. I'm a big fan of having extremely high quality assets on the website because we're in luxury as well. But my SEO manager obviously constantly chases me down on kilobytes in size. We have heavy GIFs, video, animation, so forth. Do you have any recommendations of tools that I can give her so I can win this battle?
It's a great question. For the best way I would have a look at it is speak to your systems integrator or speak to any of your tech partners and look at different ways of hosting that content. It's not necessarily the asset that's the problem, it's where it's hosted or how it's delivered. And that's how we found a cheaper solution than using a dedicated DAM to showcase our content in a great way. One of those assets that I was showing on our PDP is 4,000 by 4,000 pixels. It's a heavyweight image, but as I say, we're in green for Core Web Vitals for that loading. It's all about finding that right piece of tech. And obviously I'd need to check which competitor, if you're from a competitor, before I told you what we're using. But otherwise, yeah. It's fine. I'll tell you offline then. Cool, any more questions?
Hey, thanks a lot for the talk. Really interesting. I just had a question really about the role of kind of 3D and augmented reality technologies, especially in the kind of luxury space. What your opinion and view on them is, especially when trying to replicate that kind of in-store experience. Is it something that you've used in the past, and is it something you recommend, basically?
Yeah, definitely. It's one that, from our perspective, for 3D and augmented reality, is I'm letting the big players make the problems, go through that solution. I'm looking very closely at what IKEA are doing at the moment And once, especially we've got a customer service team, once I get customers calling us saying, how do I visualize this in my room? Especially for luxury and the product set we've got, our demographic is a lot older. We're looking people in their 50s and up. So less likely, less quick to move on to new tech. And that's where I would kind of say, I'm letting the big boys make the mistake, and then we'll come sweeping in once there's a luxury feel to it as well. Because that's the other thing, that I've used a couple of ARs, and they're not quite luxury. They're not quite premium enough. And that's where I think it's just missing out at the moment. Any more? Over there.
Thank you. Yeah, great presentation. When you look at, let's say, on-site experience, this is very much targeted towards being agnostic of the demand source, whether it's paid, earned, owned. What do you feel has been, let's say, the best return on investment for the on-site experience?
I would say in most cases the setup that we've got is, oh, I've lost my headset. The best responses we've seen is from paid mainly, because we can target that landing page and get that really right for the experience. Especially when it comes to paid search, you know what keyword has been selected, what keyword you're going after, and you can make sure that if you know what that intent is, using a tool like SEMrush, Ahrefs will give you that intent of that search query, that you can cater that content a little better to that with the landing page that you aim at, rather than just dropping, say, a search for French beds straight into our French beds page. We could look a bit more carefully. We know French beds, they don't know what size necessarily because they've not asked that question yet. So pushing them towards size content initially is a really great way of looking at it, and that's what I would recommend. Search a little bit easier because you get that intent through other search tools. Any more? No? All good? Perfect. Well, I'll be hanging around for a little bit, so if you do have any questions, just come up, and otherwise, thank you for your time.